بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وآله وصحبه ومن والاه. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I want to talk about the modern history. In brief, of course, because it's very, very long. And today also is an introduction only. What time it started and how did it start and what is the benefit to know about the modern history. Most of historians said that it started when Napoleon came to conquer Egypt at 1798. That means it's about the last of the 18th century. Napoleon was that time a superior power in Europe. He conquered Austria, Italy, Germany. I mean, he was very powerful that time. And why the historian said that the Napoleon campaign to Egypt, it was the starting of the modern history. Why? Because this is the first time a connection happened between East and West. Since the Crusaders, and the last one in Egypt was about the 9th century, the Arabic century, it's about 14th century in the Gregorian. Since the Crusaders, there was no connection between East and West. When I say East, I mean the Arabic countries, at least. And that connection between East and West really did start the modern history. Why? Because the Eastern people, which is the Arab, what I mean by saying the Eastern people here, the Eastern people did not know what happened in Europe. Napoleon came at 1798. That means 300 years from Renaissance. Renaissance in the West started at the 1500s, 1500. But really, this history, this time, 1500, does not mean anything. Does not mean anything. Why? Because there is another history, but the Western people did not, or they don't like to say it. They don't like to mention it. It was Muhammad al-Fatih campaign to conquer Istanbul. What we know Istanbul, it was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul. Istanbul, Muhammad al-Fatih came on 1453 Gregorian, and he could enter the city on 29th of May 1453. Okay, what is the relationship between 1453 and Renaissance at 1500? This is a little bit long story. I will brief it. The Roman Empire was containing all Europe, East Europe and West Europe. The emperor saw that his sons cannot withstand to govern all Europe. One only emperor, he could not do it after him. So he decided to divide the Roman Empire to two divisions: the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire. Western Roman Empire, the capital was Rome, and the Eastern Roman Empire, the capital was Constantinople, which is Istanbul after that. So these political divisions tend to be also religious divisions. Why? Because the Western Roman Empire followed the Trinity, what we say Trinity in the Christian religion, Trinity, And the Eastern Empire followed Orthodox, what we call today Orthodox. And divisions between it was big barrier between the Eastern Empire and the Western Empire. The Eastern Empire was so sophisticated, relatively, of course, relatively. If you want to compare it to the Western Empire, it was living in very bad condition. Most of the scientists was living in Constantinople. When Muhammad al-Fatih entered at 1453, although he dealt with people in a very good manner, and he gave them the freedom, and he gave them their churches, he took half of the churches and gave him half of the churches. It's very generous from Muhammad al-Fatih, because that time when somebody conquered a city, he would take everything. He will not leave anything for others. So he really gave them very good freedom for their worshipping, or for their merchandise, everything. But the scientists, most of them, they could not stay in Istanbul. So they moved to the Western Empire. So this is really the beginning of the Renaissance time at 1453. It's not as the historian European they saying at 1500, because 1500 means nothing. This history means nothing. It's nothing really. The correct history for the Renaissance for the Western countries, it was 1453, and I told you what is the reason why it happened like this. So from 1500 until 1798, when Napoleon came to Egypt, it's about 300 years. The European lasted 300 years in Renaissance, and meanwhile the Muslims also, they lasted 300 years for going back and back and back. Because the Muslim countries, the Ottoman Empire was ruling most of the Arab countries. Really all Arab countries except the Morocco, what so-called Morocco today. All Arab countries were under the governing of the Ottoman Empire. After Sulaiman the Magnificent, the Ottoman Empire started to go down. So when Napoleon came to Egypt, they were in the Renaissance for 300 years. We were backwards for 300 years. The Egyptians and also all Arab countries, they did not know what happened in the European countries. Because of the relationships between East and West was cut. There was no relationship really between East and West. After the conquerance of Egypt and when the French went out of Egypt on 1801, which in Hijrah time 1213, Muhammad Ali, the ruler of the Egypt, he started to send students to study in France, in Paris, which was very advanced steps that time, considered to be very advanced steps. And everything changed now. The relationship between East and West was strong at that time, of course, and the changes in Cairo and some other Arabic countries were very fast at that time, relatively, and this is the real starting of the modern history, as most of historians decided. So, this is now the beginning of the modern history. Why it is very important to know about the modern history? I used to talk for many years about the Sahaba time, radiallahu anhum, disciples of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, about Umayyah time, Abbasi time, about the Ayyubi time, Nuri times. I mean, I used to talk about those historian intervals too long. But now I decided not anymore. I decided just to talk about the modern history. Why? First of all, the most important reason that the modern history, up to this time that I'm talking to you, it is really influencing us and our societies too much. There are the big influence we are caring about for the modern history. This is a very important reason now. And what happened of the colonial Western, the Western colonial, and they took most of the Arab and Islamic countries that happened in the modern history. This is the second reason. All of the Islamic groups, they started in the modern history, of course. The Renaissance of the Muslims, it happened in the in the end of the 19th century. Also the modern history. And the independence of the Muslim countries, it happened also in the modern history, of course. So the conquering, then independence happened in the modern history. So modern history is very, very, very important. The Palestinian case, of course, it happened in the modern history. The fall of the Ottoman Empire happened also in the modern history. So modern history is very, very, very important for all of us to understand and to know. Other reason, and also good reason, that most of the Arabs, maybe most of the Muslims also, they don't know much about the modern history. They know something about the old history, the beginning of Islam, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ time, Al-Rashidin time, Khulafa al-Rashidin, Khalif's time, Umayyah Khalifs, Abbasi Khalif. They know something about it. But if you ask them about what's happening in the modern history, I say, it's about more than 90% of the people they don't know. They don't know what happened. They don't know how Napoleon came and conquered Egypt. They didn't know how the French came and conquered Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco. They did not know how the Dutch came and took the Malay countries, which is today, of course, Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei, Fatani, Philippines. They don't know. They don't know what happened in the African countries, the black African countries, and Germany took some, and Italy took some, French took most of the black countries, England took some. They don't know. They don't know what happened in Palestine. They don't know what happened in Syria. They don't know what happened in Iraq. So I need to talk about this modern history. I need to tell people what happened, because up to now, the relation, the influence of the beginning of the modern history, it is really, we care about it. We today we feel that it's a complete history. It's a chain. It started 1798 and up to now it's continuing. So it is the events of the modern history. It's a chain. It started with Napoleon, up to now. So really we need to know about it. Really we need to study this modern history. And I'm trying to talk about it in brief because it's very, very, very long. Very long. You cannot imagine how long is it. So I'm trying to talk about it in brief. I know your times, you cannot, in this modern life, we cannot hear for hours and hours and hours. We don't have time. So I'm trying to brief it as much as I can. So, and this is only the introduction. And inshallah, I'll talk about it more in the following episodes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.